Hello again, everybody. I thought I'd do another video because I'm seeing a lot of people at the moment asking the same questions, and they're about to make a very common new ant keeper mistake. And the questions they're asking is, oh, I've just caught a Lasius niger queen. What sort of nest do I need? How big does it need to be? What should I buy? Should it have soil in it or sand? So what I thought I'd do, I'd just show you my current Lasius niger colony and my current setup so that you know where you're heading towards and what we're going to do with your colony over the next year, basically. So yeah, this is a colony that's a year and a month old, about 300 plus workers. And you can see how small the space is that they are in. They don't need much space. Ants don't want space, so you don't need a big nest. So often again people are asking what are they looking for in the nest, and a lot of people are working under the misconception that ants need to live in soil. As you can see, they don't. All they need to be is humid. So your nest has to have some sort of hydration system. And this particular nest is from Wakushi, and I'd just like to say that I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. I've got no connection with Wakushi. And here what I'm pointing out is that sitting in these two chambers is a gypsum block. So gypsum's a very absorbent stone, and what you do is you put water in that little hole, it goes underneath that gypsum block, and then it soaks up into the stone. So you need a moisture system, and just there you can see those little holes. You need air to be able to get in as well somehow. So this nest is obviously a professional nest, well designed. It is too big for them, as you can see, and you shouldn't move ants into a nest that is too big, and I have made a mistake here. And what that mistake is doing, it means that they have dumped their rubbish. As you can see here, they're dumping rubbish in that corner, and they're dumping rubbish here around the water tower. It's perfectly dry, it's sucked dry, and it's just black dust basically, so I'm not worried. You can see here there's an elastic band around the water tower, and that's because they were getting out the crack there where the water tower connects, so that's a bit of DIY fixing. And the other thing you can see all over this nest, I mean, and you should see this on any established ant nest, is basically gunk. They stick. It's ant waste. I don't want to go into details of what this is, but it's just ant waste. And when you're looking at YouTube videos and stuff, you should, if it's an established nest, always see bits of gunk around the top like that. So yes, this is the setup that they're in. This is the whole nest. So that Wakushi nest is then connected to a three-way connector, which is got a test tube here on the side, which now is a water test tube just to give an extra amount of water for them. But when they first, what I did when I put them in was I connected the test tube that I'd caught them in there, and I let them move in themselves. They chose to move in to that nest and come out of their test tube. But that test tube is then connected here to a four-way connector, which means I've got a port there which is blocked off, which could lead to an expansion if I need to, and then that is connected here to the outworld, which is where they forage for food and stuff. And I've done a video previously on my outworld, but as I said, my aim is to have a busy, complicated outworld so that I can see the ants foraging, running around, I get to watch them. And as I've also said before, it's all colour coordinated. Everything in there is as light as I could make it. White stones, pale yellow stones, because obviously Lasius niger are black, so I get the contrast, and obviously you can much more easily see them running around. And here in the corner, this little bit of sand, this is the only substrate I give them, just enough to spin their pupas, but not enough for them to start digging in or building things or blocking off entrances or sticking it to the roof of the formicarium so that I can't observe what's going on. Because the reason I keep ants is I want to see what's happening in the nest. I don't want any soil set up. I don't want all this hidden from me. And then I put the red covers on. Ants can see red light, I'm fully aware of that, but it makes it slightly darker in those chambers at the back there, and also this one because it makes it slightly darker at the front entrance, just so they know they've gone underground. And then this is just an old Amazon box, which I bit of DIY cutting, cut some flaps out, cut a hole out, and that just sits over the top so that they're in full darkness. And then I've got the whole thing is resting on a board, so I can turn it, twist it, pick it up if I needed to and move it around, so that gives me actual mobility of the whole setup. And yeah, that is the setup that I've got, like I said, a Lasius niger colony in that's just over a year old. But here's what we've got right now, a test tube with a queen in it. And when we're ready, what we'll do is we'll get a test tube connector, a little bit of pipe, and a small outworld. We don't need a big outworld, here's a small outworld. And we'll connect the test tube directly to an outworld like this, so that we can feed in the outworld, and you'll get to see your ants running around in that small outworld this year. But they'll go into hibernation on about, I'm just pointing out the fluon at the top there, and the fact that this outworld has got an overhanging lip, so that they can't walk up that fluon and they can't walk around the lip. And then, as you can see, the lid has air slots in it. And it's the same for the Lasius niger. They've got fluon up the sides and an overhanging lip. But yeah, you'll go to hibernation, which is going to be about October, with about 30 to 50 workers perhaps. They're happy in that tube for the rest of this year. And then you can think about a nest in April, May, March time next year when they come out. And this is actually what I should have moved them into. This is a slightly smaller wakushi nest, where it's basically just the back part of the nest that I've got. There's the gypsum stone inlay you can see there, and the one little dry chamber. And just to give you an idea of size, what my Lasius niger, year-old colony is living in, it's 7 centimeters wide by 7 centimeters high. So ants really do want to live in tiny spaces, and all these people, I see people wanting to go out and buy huge great nests at the start, and you really don't need to. And like I said, you won't need this until next year. And what I'd do, I'd take, get one of those 4-way connectors like I showed you, and I'd connect the nest up to that, then connect the connector to the outworld, and then stick the test tube on the side, let them move in at their own leisure, because moving ants in is often a question that I get asked. And it doesn't have to be Wakushi, they're UK based, so they're a good UK company, but this is an ant kit nest. Now, I don't like these as much. The hydration comes off this sponge at the back, so you put the water in through that little hole there and it hydrates this sponge. But as you can see, that's quite a small sponge and quite a big nest that goes quite a distance from the sponge. And I've got my flavus in a smaller version of this at the moment, and it needs so much watering. It dries out so much quicker than the wakushi nests do. But again, as you can see, 6 centimeters by 7 centimeters, nothing massive. This would be ideal. So please don't go out and buy some huge setup. Thank you.